4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Keep your back straight, spine straight. Take a deep breath. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Follow the breath. Keep your back straight. 2 minutes silent. Silent meditation. Just focus on the breath. Observe the body. Any intention completely release. Slowly stretch your leg forward. Gently roll back. Relax in Shavasana. Legs apart. Hands apart. Focus on my breathing. Exhale and relax your body. Do 3 rounds upon the body. 60 counts, 75 energy pumping. 50, 60 second retention between. After do 7 round Anuloma Viloma Pranayama. Rest is 4, 16, 8. Both arms so head in the lock of clearance clearly. We can go in the past. Inhale, right leg forward, right foot, left knee down, up. Exhale. Exhale, arms to the prayer position. Inhale, up, touch back. Exhale, bend forward, palms gently forward. Inhale, left leg back, palm stretch. Hold the breath, right leg back, push-up position. Exhale, knees down, chest down, forehead down. Inhale, head up, chest up, legs together, opposite position. Exhale, leg towards the hips. Inhale, leg forward, left between the hips. Lift up. Exhale, forward. Inhale, hands up or back. Exhale. Inhale, hands up, arch back. Exhale, bend forward. Inhale, right leg back. Forward, left leg back, push-up position. Exhale, knees down, chest down, forehead down. Inhale, head up, chest up. Inhale, hips up. Inhale, right leg forward. Exhale, left leg forward. Inhale, hands up, back. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale, palms together, prayer position. Inhale, hands up, arch back. Exhale, bend forward. Inhale, left leg back. Hold right leg back, push-up position. Exhale, knees down, chest down, forehead down. Inhale, head up, chest up. Exhale, hips up. Inhale, left leg forward. Exhale, right leg forward. Inhale, hands arch back. Exhale, inhale. Inhale, palms together. Inhale, arch back. Exhale, forward. Inhale, right leg, inhale, head up, chest up. Exhale, hips up. Inhale, right leg forward. Exhale, left leg forward. Inhale, hands up, back. Exhale, inhale. Exhale, palms together. Inhale, hands up, back. Exhale, bend forward. Inhale, left back. Hold right leg back, push-up position. Exhale, knees down, chest down, forehead down. Inhale, head up, chest up. Exhale, hips up. Inhale, left forward. Exhale, right leg forward. Inhale, hands up, arch back. Exhale, inhale, palms together. Inhale, up, arch back. Exhale, bend forward. Inhale, right leg back. Forward, left back. Exhale, knees down, chest down, forehead down. Inhale, head up, chest up. Exhale, hips up. Inhale, right leg forward. Exhale, left leg forward. Inhale, hands up, arch back. Exhale, inhale. Exhale, palms together. Inhale, hands up, arch back. Exhale, bend forward. Inhale, left leg back. Hold right leg back. Exhale, knees down, chest down, forehead down. Inhale, head up, chest up. Exhale, hips up. Inhale, left leg forward. Exhale, right leg forward. Inhale, hands up, back. Exhale, inhale. Exhale, palms together. Inhale, hands up, back. Exhale, bend forward. Inhale, right leg back. Forward, left leg back. Exhale, knees down, chest down, forehead down. Inhale, head up, chest up. Exhale, hips up. Inhale, right leg forward. Exhale, left leg forward. Inhale, hands up, arch back. Exhale, inhale. Exhale, palms together. Inhale, hands up, arch back. Exhale, bend forward. Inhale, left leg back. Hold right leg back. Exhale, knees down, chest down, forehead down. Inhale, head up, chest up. Exhale, hips up. Inhale, left leg forward. Exhale, right leg forward. Inhale, hands up, arch back. Exhale, last set. Inhale. Exhale, palms together. Inhale, hands up, arch back. Exhale, bend forward. Inhale, right. Hold Exhale, hips up. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, right leg forward. Inhale, hands up, arch the back. Exhale. Good, perfect. Now let's front to the back. Set the body. Take a deep breath. Inhale. Exhale. Exhale completely. Now inhale, right leg straight up, both knees straight. Exhale, slowly. Inhale, up. Exhale, out. Inhale, right. Keep the right leg negatively. Exhale, out. Inhale, up. Exhale, out. Inhale, headstand, Shirshasana. Do not comfortable with the headstand. We'll do some dot exercise. Release, slowly, come up, step by step. Headstand, Shirshasana. So follow each step manually. Also make your legs straight. Legs together. Just focus on your breath. Slowly come down, step by step. You can follow step by step. And relax head pose. Then roll your head side to side. Back to center. Take a couple of deep breaths. Slowly sit up. And roll back, relax, Savasana. And prepare for second asana, Kilotasana, Sarvangasana, the shoulder stand. Ready? Keep your legs together. Keep the palm side of the body. Keep your body straight. Single step or relax. Legs together. Now inhale, both legs straight up. Hips up, hands up, lower back up. Keep your elbow more close to your body. And support back. Simple. Take a couple of deep breaths. You can do all the adjustment. It's more up. Straight. push the palms to the floor and slowly release the posture. Slowly come down. Vertebra by vertebra. Put your legs together. Knees straight. Head touching the floor. Slowly come down. Exhale. Down. Now legs apart. Hands apart. Slowly hold the hand side to side. Right and left. Back shoulder. Take a couple of deep breaths. Long inhalation. Take long abdomen breathing. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Ready for counter pose, fish pose, Asana. Slowly bring your legs together. Both palms under the body. Elbow inside the body. Hide the elbows. Elbow straight. Legs together. Now inhale. Slowly head up. Just up. Just more up. Look at the toes. Now exhale. Push the elbow on the floor. Open the chest. Gently drop the head back. Down with the head. Just push the floor. Keep breathing. Exhale to push the elbow on the floor. Open the chest. Take 5 to 6 full yoga breath. Take more awesome in. More carbon dioxide out. Breathe. Just relax. exhalation, move the body forward. Slowly take your elbows. Keep your elbows touch on the floor, center of the legs. Open the chest. You breathe. Each exhalation. Your spine up.
Slowly straight.
Breathe. straight. Chest a little relaxed. Deep breathe. Straight. Between the nice stretch and arm chin. Slowly palm, hang your arms. Slowly come over to vertebra, inch by inch, slowly up. Stand straight. Knees bending. Straight. Then face this side or you go on the side. Last one, triangle, asana. Legs apart, legs straight to the apart. Right foot out, gently. Inhale, left arm straight up. You step to the left side. Without twisting the body, slowly go. Right. Open the chest, open the hips. Put the left arm to the left ear. Soften the chest. Deep breathe. Deeply up. Exhale.
and welcome to everybody. Pleased to be here. And so we're going to continue for maybe the next hour with a little panel discussion on the theme of One World, One Health from a yoga perspective. And today we have joining us from the Ashram. He's a co-director in Madurai. And we have Padmavati, who's one of our senior teachers, who's currently in London, but she's been in Neyyar Dam with us at different times. And of course myself from Neyyar Dam Ashram as well. Right now I'm in Madurai as well, for finishing off the TDC here. So we're both here in Madurai. And so I would like to actually invite Parvathy, who's co-director of the Natraj Ashram. We're planning to approach the subject from the three levels, from the physical, mental, and spiritual level of health. What is health on a physical, mental, and spiritual level? So each one of us will take one of those topics and speak about it for 5 to 10 minutes from a yogic point of view, but trying to keep it as practical as possible. And so for Parvathy is going to kick off telling us about really what is physical health, actually. Thank you.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, from whichever time zone you have joined. And first of all, I would like to wish all of you a very happy International Day of Yoga. And it was one of the best ways to celebrate the day with a 90-minute session, a 90-minute asana class. And of course, without prolonging further, I'll talk about what responsibility has been given to me to talk to you about one world, one health. So health has been defined in so many different ways by different people. But the World Health Organization, WHO, has given a definition to health as not just absence of any disease or infirmity, but a kind of overall physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. So out of it, my duty is to talk to you about the physical well-being. And I would say that would be one of the easiest approach to be healthy, like to work at the physical level, to work with your body, which is more gross and which is more tangible. So when you do something, whether you are getting benefited, you are getting those positive benefits and all, it can be easily appreciated when you work with the gross level of the body. So technically, body is like any other machine that we use to actually make our pieces more easy. We all are aware about the use of those gadgets that we use in our day-to-day life. But what is the use of this human body that we are with or given with? So one thing is, if you take it from a machine point of view, the main thing that we can use the body to do this particular machinery, and if you don't use it properly, then we can end up having so many problems. So the one main technique you can use to maintain that physical health is to move your body.
So looks like net problem. Maybe Natraj Ji can continue.
No, I'm here.
Yeah, can't hear.
Om Shivaya, is anybody able to hear?
We can hear you, so you can continue.
I can continue. Okay, so let Parvati come here. What about video?
Video is okay.
Okay. From here.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So, yeah. Om Namah Shivaya. So if any of you have come to Madurai, then you will know what we are experiencing now. So it's like part and parcel of our life here. Sorry about that. So yeah, I was mentioning about how you can maintain that physical health. Technically, just by doing movements that the body is actually programmed to do. That's how we can maintain the physical health. But there are so many movements that the body is capable of doing. So many movements. But if you look at the yogic approach, we actually go for the simplest and the most comfortable way to do those movements so that we can maintain our physical health. But maybe just now also you had a 90 minutes practice session where you were actually moving the body in every way possible, like bending forward, bending backward, twisting, balancing, and whatnot. And maybe this is what we lack in our normal day-to-day life also, like that time to actually move the body to keep it healthy. So what we can suggest is any form of movement can be like lubricating this machinery so that it functions efficiently, can last longer without getting damaged, like for a longer duration. So it's something like, if I would start with the technique, I would say whenever you have to go to a building, whenever you have to go to the topmost floor of a building, rather than going for the lift, maybe you just start climbing up the steps. Because when you use your body to climb up the steps, you are trying to use the machinery, you are trying to lubricate the joints whereby you can maintain your physical health. Or even like if maybe if you're a person who already walks a certain distance throughout the day, maybe you can like go for brisk walking, like kind of walking little faster to make it like a kind of exercise to engage your body, to engage your muscles and to engage your joints, which in turn will help to maintain the physical health. And also not just the bodily movements. Maybe exercise is not the only solution to maintain the physical health. One other important aspect that you can focus on is what we eat. Because in yoga, we say that the physical body is nothing but the food sheet. We are what we eat. And if you are also a little mindful of what you are eating, especially yoga talks about vegetarian diet as being the proper diet, the sattvic ahara, which will actually in turn help to maintain the physical health. And again, it's about, okay, even if I focus on the diet, it doesn't have to be like, okay, I have to cut short on something. For example, the trend nowadays is, okay, no carb diet. You have to completely avoid carbohydrates from your diet. Or maybe you have to completely avoid fat using oil from your diet. But that is also a mistake that we are doing, because this machinery of the body requires carb to function properly. It also requires fat and oil content in the body to function properly. So when we like kind of negate one nutrient completely from our diet, that is also not going to help us to maintain the physical health. So whatever we eat, we need all these nutrients, carbohydrates, proteins, fats, vitamins and mineral, but in a balanced proportion. Nothing should be completely avoided from our diet, because carbohydrates are the greatest source of energy that is required by our body. So if we are low on our carb intake, means that will obviously affect our energy levels during our day-to-day activities. And then coming to fat and oil, something which we all dread, because whenever the resolution is to lose weight,
we think of just avoiding oil from our diet. But what we don't understand is the fat, the essential fats that we derive from the food that we eat is something that helps the body to repair and regenerate. So many internal things are going on right now at this moment in all our bodies during the practice or after the practice or during the day itself. Even when I am sitting still without doing anything, there are so many reparative processes that are going on within the body, and all this is being held or catalyzed by the essential fats, essential fatty acids. So whenever you think of avoiding the oils or fat completely from your diet, remember that you also need that particular nutrient to maintain the health of your body. So these are the main two things that you can focus on no matter how busy you are in your life. Just keep moving your body. Maybe it can be like simple movements like the eye, neck and shoulder that we teach in the beginners class in our organization. It looks like very simple, but what we don't understand is these movements can be very, very effective in improvising the blood circulation to the neck and shoulders, the two areas where we tend to store lots of tension or lots of rigidity in our body because of the kind of lifestyle that we are engaged with nowadays. So if even if you go for simple movements of the neck, like maybe turning the head to the sides or dropping the chin down, up, or rotating the shoulders, moving the shoulders up, down, all these movements looks pretty simple as well, like anybody can do, even 80 plus people can do, but they can do wonders for our physical health. So this is what you can also start practicing in your day-to-day life. If not the practice of a 90 minutes asana class, simple movements of the body, and also like maybe having a balanced diet, not completely avoiding any particular nutrient from your diet. And I feel like if you start focusing on these two things, maybe the physical level of health can be maintained. So with this, I will like to wind up my words. So thanks to everyone for attending, and thanks to everyone for giving me the opportunity. Om Nam Shivaya. Thank you. Yeah. So now I think Padmavati ji can. Let's
Hello everybody, I'm in London at the moment. It's a very hot London, unusually so. We're sweltering in 30-degree plus heat, but we're very happy about this, most of us anyway. Thank you for coming to join us for this International Day of Yoga. Any meeting like this is important for all of us, for the teachers just as much as for you who are listening. Because we need to continually and always be reminded of some of these practices that yoga exhorts us to do. And as Parvathy was saying, it doesn't have to be a huge, you don't have to come and live in an ashram, you don't have to give up your life, but it's really adopting very small measures, little by little, the growth and the betterment of both our physical and our mental and spiritual lives happen. So yoga tells us mentally, and we know this, that a negative mind brings suffering, brings misery, brings despair often, and it causes us deep unhappiness when we are negative. However much we think we're not being negative, when we're very angry or when we're jealous or we think that we're right, it isn't a pleasant thing to be experiencing. And often we have underlying mental negativity that really eats away at us and stops us living a full and happy life, which is what we're all after. If you look at what we do in our lives, we are always and continually looking for happiness. And happiness comes with, on one level, a mentally healthy mind. Happiness does not come with mental disturbance. We do not operate well. So we are continually being reminded by yoga to find a positive point of view, find a positive way of approaching our lives. And there are many hundreds of techniques to do this. And the one thing that we are told initially, and this is what Parvathy was saying in her presentation, was that do small things. Don't think that we can get rid of all our anger. Don't think that you can get rid of all your anxiety, all your depression. Right, I'm going to do that from now on. I'm going to not be depressed. I'm not going to be angry. And what happens is very quickly we stumble, and then we get depressed again, or we get angry again, and we give up. So what yoga says is get hold of little bite-sized practices and focus on the practice rather than the end result. Have an end result. I want to get rid of my anger. I want to get rid of my depression. But go for it in tiny ways and focus on those things, success in those little bite-sized things, rather than, am I now not depressed? Am I now not angry? So we say, let's practice these things, and we're going to just go through very quickly here a few of the practices that we can do that will bring us more and more stability to our mental health, more and more happiness and joyfulness. We need to be joyful, we need to be cheerful, we need to be giving, we need to be loving, we need to be generous and full of compassion and tolerance for us to live a full life. The moment we become negative, our lives are restricted. So one of the big ones is replace a negative thought with a positive one. This comes from the Raja Yoga Sutras, big time. This isn't an easy thing to do. And again, what we do is we don't say, right, every negative thought I have, I'm going to replace with a positive one. Not possible. But when we catch ourselves, and we don't often catch ourselves, but when we do catch ourselves being negative, then we say to ourselves, well, see if I can just replace that with something positive. So say I'm being negative about somebody, can't stand them, they're in my presence at the moment, why on earth are they dressed like that, why do they have a hairstyle like that, and why is he speaking like that? Just catch yourself if you can, and you say, oh, well, actually, you can't say, oh, well, I love this person, because you don't feel love for him or her, but you just say, well, actually, I quite like the shoes they're wearing, actually, I quite like the way that he or she expresses himself, and you replace all that negativity with something very small, very just tiny little bit of positivity. And this what happens in the mind. We know that the brain is neuroplastic, it changes. We develop new pathways of positivity, and the negative starts to decrease. So things like practice, we say be kind, try being kind 3 times a day, 2 times a day, once a day, if that's all we can do, once a week, but let's try and be kind. So kindness, what does that mean? So perhaps picking up litter, a piece of litter that you see in the street, saying, smiling to somebody as you pass them, giving encouragement to somebody, giving somebody a compliment, very small things. And don't think, oh, well, now I'm super kind. No, just keep doing these things with kindness in mind, and you'll start to see that you actually start to become a little kinder automatically without having to remind oneself to be kind. Practice gratitude. Gratitude is another one. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, God, for giving me sunshine today. If God isn't in your life, thank you, nature, for giving me sunshine today. If nature isn't in your life, just thank you for having sunshine. Thank you for my health. Thank you for my pair of glasses. Thank you for the food that I'm going to eat today. Thank you, thank you, thank you for a good night's sleep. Thank you for giving me a bit of suffering so that I have to look at my mind a bit more. A continual stream of thank you actually can really open the mind and make us feel much more healthy, actually, mentally. Another one, try and give time. We don't give time to anybody. We've got no time, and especially now I'm out of the ashram, and I know exactly how people are living outside the ashram, the speed people live. Give a little time, listen, visit, call. The loneliness in our societies now is really becoming critical. We're encouraged more and more to live alone, to live singly, or live outside a family, a bigger family unit. And we say, you know, this doesn't do our mental health much good. But if we are suffering loneliness, then give to somebody else. Go and talk to somebody else, and you will see that your own loneliness starts to decrease also. When you're less lonely, you're happier, you're more joyful. Try and reduce clutter, try and reduce chaos in one's life. These things are very difficult to do, but so many of us have too much. How many photos do you have on your phone? When you're looking for a photo on your phone, how many hundreds do you have to scroll through? Everybody's bored stiff with you, waiting for you to find your photo. Do you need all these photos? Do you need all this music, Spotify stuff? Do you need everything on your computer? No. Clean it. You have half an hour, just sit there and delete. You'll feel much clearer. Same in your home, how many t-shirts, how many pairs of shoes, how many knives and forks, how many plates. Endless stuff we have, and it clutters our minds and makes us much less clear, and clarity brings happiness. And then just to finalize, when you're in dire straits, which we can often be, I've just been on a holiday with my brother and his family, and we've had quite heavy-duty conflicts going on. And the way I found when my mind was just becoming really out of control, I would pray. I would just say, please, whoever's up there, I have God in my life, so it was to God. But if you don't, then you pray just as you do for nature or the universe or somebody to help. Please help me. Please help me stop being so critical. Help me stop being so judgmental. Help me stop being so jealous, this kind of thing. And you'll see that the help comes. So just little bites, little bits. Don't look at the big picture. Have the big picture in mind. You will all have that because we're all in yoga and you're even sitting here and listening. But let that big picture go and just concentrate on the little things, just as Parvathy said with the physicality. Just walk a bit more and be positive a little bit more. And slowly, we get there. So thank you again, thank you for listening, and I'll pass you on to Natraj Ji, who's going to put the icing on the cake. The cherry on the icing.
Something like that. Thank you very much, Padmavati, for your insights into the mind. Yeah, so as Padmavati is saying, that ultimately we all want one thing in life, and that is happiness. And sorry, I'm just going to get mine. Yeah. From a spiritual point of view, we're looking a little more deeply into this whole question of happiness. And basically, all spiritual traditions ultimately tell us our real nature is the nature of happiness. That's our very nature. And we all want, at some level, we want to have that sustainable level of satisfaction in life. And most of the time, we're not really satisfied with the superficial kind of happiness that we find in our day-to-day life. We want something deeper, some sense of peace, fulfillment, contentment, something that we can rely on and feel stable with it. That's an ideal that we all cherish somewhere in the back of our mind. But we find that the world doesn't really offer that. Everything is changing, people change, situations change, our own moods and desires change, and even the best moments will pass. So, as we get older, we start to realize that ultimately the solution is not in the world, no matter how attractive it might be. And we start to understand that really that happiness is to come from within us. And it's not about finding it out there, it's about finding out what's blocking us from feeling that inner peace and steadiness that we should have within ourselves. So the basic spiritual teaching of yoga is that ultimately our core, our deepest level, we are all whole, peaceful, and complete. That our ultimate nature is complete and peaceful and satisfying. And this isn't something we need to create for ourselves or find or chase something. It's already there. And in Sanskrit, it's described as Anandoham. Anandoham means I am Ananda, I am the bliss. So why are we not experiencing this continuously? Why? That is our nature. Why are we not in touch with it throughout the day? What is our obstacle? Of course, our obstacle is our own mind. And this is the thing that we need to deal with at the end of the day. If we really are committed to state of happiness, we'll have to face this challenge, our own mind. And from the yogic point of view, it's very clear that we are not the mind. The mind is just a passing phenomena. It's a product of, and that is not ultimately where the answer lies. Okay, the answer for our peace is something beyond the mind. So somehow we have to come to terms with our own mind, and all our thoughts, our restlessness, distractions, our habits actually cloud our real nature. So we have a very nice analogy when we teach the philosophy classes that our real nature, our soul, our spirit, our conscious being, whatever you want to call it, the Atma, the self, is like the sun. We have the sun and then we have the clouds. So the clouds represent the mind. So as you can see, the self and the mind are two different entities, two very different entities. But the clouds can, when they're turbulent, I think that they will obscure the sun. We will not experience the sun when it's very cloudy. On the other hand, when the clouds disperse, the sun manifests, and it's not something we have to do or find or look for. It's already there, and it just becomes apparent. So basically, our pure bliss, our center is there all the time, but it's the level of our mind that is obscuring this experience. And so ultimately we have to find a way to deal with our own mind so that we are more in touch with that inner being that we all come from. So when the mind is quiet, even for a moment, we feel peace. And at that point, we experience that inner stillness, that inner satisfaction. And but unfortunately, it's not necessarily going to stay there for long. But basically, the secret to happiness is very simple. As Swami Sivananda said, peace of mind is happiness. Okay, it's actually as simple as that. And it's the same for everyone. If you have peace of mind, you can be happy anyway. If you don't have peace of mind, you can't be happy anyway. So it's very simple, actually. But of course, the concept is simple, but the practicality of it is the difficult part. How do we achieve and sustain peace of mind? So I have a few suggestions, which yoga has many things to say about this. I'm just going to highlight a couple of them, which are maybe suited for people who are new to this type of thing. But basically, the spiritual path is not about searching for happiness. It's more about working with our own mind, which is blocking it. And to do this successfully, we need to have a better understanding about our own mind and become more and more familiar about how it works, notice its patterns, and see how it reacts in different situations. Most people take this for granted. That's just me. That's not you, and it's not how you are. It's the mind, and that's how the mind is. And you are accepting it as yourself, which is not truth, actually. It's not a reality. So how to come out of this trap? So essentially, we have to understand the mind. And one important thing about the mind is that the mind depends on stimuli, basically the five senses. Everything that we entertain in our mind is being derived through our experiences. All our memories, our imaginations, our desires, our imaginations are all byproducts of our experiences. So one thing we can try to cultivate is a little bit of detachment from these stimuli and have more time alone. Now we've just heard from Padmavati that, people are increasingly becoming isolated, and we don't have an extended family situation, we don't have support networks. Yes, that's true. But at the same time, we also do need some solitude. And it's only in that solitude that we can really get connected with ourselves. But how do we handle that solitude? That's the point. Okay, sorry, and some issues going on here. Can you see me now? Yeah. Right?
Yes.
Okay. So the point is, how do we handle that solitude? So most people handle that solitude by filling it up with something. If it's not people or family, well, nowadays, obviously, it's right in front of us, our mobile phone. We fill up our space, we fill up our mental stimuli with the phone and other gadgets like this. So being alone doesn't mean, substituting your stimulations with something else. It's about really being alone without minimizing your stimulations. So go for a walk without your phone. Eat a meal on your own without your phone and other distractions. Sit quietly for some time in nature or wherever it's convenient to just see how long you can sit by yourself without needing to be distracted by something. And ultimately, this will initially be a bit frustrating and irritating, but ultimately it will help us to get more connected with ourselves and outside of this need for constant stimulation. Another point that Padmavati highlighted, which is very important, is also simplifying our life. Simplify the number of material things we accumulate, simplify our commitments and engagements, simplifies the amount of stimuli that we expose ourselves to. And the less we are stimulated, the quieter the mind will become. And again, I just want to emphasize cutting down on screen time, social media, notifications, and all of this is continuously, stimulating the mind. So, of course, we can't leave it completely. Our world does revolve around this; it's a reality. But can we, contain it and set boundaries for ourselves? That's our first step to being more connected with our deeper self and not relying on the mind continuously. Once we're able to do this, and we are making a sincere effort, then we are actually fit to go to the next level, which is basically meditation. What is meditation? Meditation is simply just an extension of this, about being on your own. When we meditate, we are consciously sitting down with ourselves, disconnecting ourselves from the environment, and we're willing to sit with our own mind in a virtual space. That's the commitment of meditation. And it's not easy. And not many people are able to keep that up for long, because it's the most frustrating thing to do, is to sit with your own mind. But again, do it in small steps. As Padmavati was saying, don't try to think of, okay, I need to, get some inner peace or enlightenment or something like that. It's just, can I sit for 5 minutes with my eyes closed and not move and not have to look and do something? And once you can do that, try to extend that time gradually. If you can sit for 5 minutes today, then try for 6 or 7 minutes tomorrow. And when you can do that, if you also physically challenges there, once you can do that, you try to extend another minute or two. And slowly over a period of time, you'll find that you can sit. And we're usually aiming for like 30-minute slots, if possible, to sit quietly without moving, without distractions. Of course, what's happening inside the mind is another story. It might not look like we're doing anything, but of course our mind will be racing. So we need to be able to also start to focus, and like we teach in all our meditations, start with your breath. The breath is a wonderful tool. We can use it any time, actually, even when you're otherwise engaged with things. If we are losing our focus, we can just reconnect with our breath. But it's particularly important when you're trying to practice meditation, because it's the one thing that is going to keep moving, and you can stay focused on it. And by focusing on your breath naturally also subsides, and as your breath subsides or calms down, becomes more shallow, your mind also slows down automatically. So it's a great tool to actually slow down the mind. And then once your breath is become very gentle, then definitely you'll be left with your own mind that's still active. And here we have to learn how to watch the thoughts, and not identify with them and not react to them and not judge them. Basically become a neutral witness and just observe the thoughts as though they are clouds passing in the sky, for example, or something that's happening in front of you on a TV screen. You don't identify with it. This is, again, another technique that has to be developed. It doesn't come naturally. It requires continuous practice and application. Time after time, we find we'll be drawn away and swept away by the flow of the mind, and time after time, we'll have to come out of that stream and let it go and refocus our attention to the present moment using our breath, our focal point. From the breath, we can focus on something specific. And then one of the easiest and best tools is also to use the mantra. So repeating a mantra is a very simple technique, but very powerful one, and has been well recognized to work over by many, many sages and over a long period of time. So mantra is very helpful because it has a rhythm and a vibration and helps to anchor the mind. There's another option if you like to be more self-inquiry and contemplative. You can also go into the philosophical direction of Jnana Yoga and start asking yourself more deep probing questions like, who am I really? What is my ultimate nature? Who is the observer of everything that's going on in my life? Not only my external life, but also my internal life. Who is actually observing the mind? Who's perceiving the thoughts? Who's perceiving the body and the sensations? The role that we play in our society and at work, at home. And these things, we're trying to figure out who are we as the observer. And this is the start of Jnana Yoga. And there is a practice that's called Neti Neti, which you can try. Neti Neti literally means not this, not this. And this is a practice that basically you try to identify everything that you think you might be. And the moment you identify with it, you should confidently discard it. Because the fact that you can observe something, it means it's an object. That it cannot be you, the subject. So we can actually look at each and every aspect of our lifestyle, our thoughts, our mind and emotions, and consistently with discrimination and dispassion, this is how we develop dispassion, say this is ultimately not me, this is just a phenomena that's happening around me, just like any other phenomena, like the weather. And like this, one can develop what we call vairagya, or dispassion. So basically it does not mean about rejecting or turning away from anything. No, not at all. It's actually more about seeing things as they are rather than as we think they are. And this is the value of vairagya, is that we start to become immune. We start to develop an immunity to the world. We can live in the world, but we're not affected by the world. As they say, Swami Shivananda says, live like a lotus leaf. You know, you live in the water, but you don't get wet. Or like a duck, water off a duck's back. So the world should not really impact you when you have that level of vairagya. And this is the way we do it, by being more discriminating what's me and what's not me. So this is not about indifference, this is more about clarity, and a deeper connection to our own nature starts to become more and more apparent, and we start to get more and more centered in ourselves. And with that comes a more stable level of peace and happiness that doesn't really depend on anything outside. We start to appreciate a contentment that's coming from within us, and we are no longer chasing for something outside, and we actually are resting in our own nature. So spiritual health is not about becoming a perfect saint or yogi or some enlightened being. It's about developing a steady foundation within yourself, a calmer mind, a simpler life, and a growing awareness of your own true self. Not as a concept, but as a real experience that you are established in all the time in your day-to-day life. So, great. Happy to share these thoughts. We have a little bit of time, at least 15 minutes, where we can interact. If anyone would like to make any comments or share some insights from your own experience, how you're dealing with your physical, mental, or spiritual health, please feel free to share or ask any questions. see Nicola is here. Nicola, I'm going to poke you. Please share something. You're a very interesting person. You're an artist who has all sorts of different ways of seeing life. So how does all of this sit with you as an artist?
Natraj Ji, I'm so sorry. Just at this exact moment, this isn't an excuse. I just have to go and take a delivery, and I'll be back. I'm not joking.
Okay. So who else is here? We have a lot of people sitting in the Siva Hall as well. Hi. Do you have access to your microphone? Hello, Nashat.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, are you in the Siva Hall?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's Shivani. Yeah, I can recognize you. Hi.
Yeah, here.
So anybody else? Anyone there would like to say something? Are you all but yoga vacationists?
Some stuff.
Staff and yoga vacationists. Okay.
Please
So
stop.
anyone would like to share something?
I would like to share an experience I had this morning. So some of the nearby schools organized a special day for the yoga, the International Yoga Day, and they invited us as well. So I had a very nice opportunity to go to one of those schools where there were kids from 3 years old till 14. There were like maybe 50 kids, and I never experienced this in Europe because Europe is very different, the culture there, but it was just so emotionally uh, um, deep experience to see the kids starting the day with prayer, and then they were demonstrating yoga exercises, and they were meditating for a few moments for us, and it was just so nice to see that this can happen in India in the schools, which I didn't know about, that this is part of the education. So I was so surprised in a positive way, and for me this was a very nice celebrating yoga today.
Yeah, definitely. It's yeah. I mean, yoga is becoming part of. Hopefully, going to become more and more part of our normal culture, world culture. We're talking about one world, one health, and yeah, yoga has got the right combination where it can be adopted, is adopted by anyone virtually, and can be used. And it's great, yeah, as you say, if we can share it with the children, that's the best. We're investing in our future. Nicola, you're back. How about saying, what else can you tell us?
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. That was bad timing. It's
No.
great to see you, Natraj Ji. Thank you everyone for this afternoon. What can I share? To be honest, I mean, I am an artist. I'm really lucky to be able to make work about things that interest me and move me, and a big part of that is my relationship with yoga and how it kind of often comes up in tension to the culture that I grew up in the UK. So I become interested in those moments of tension. I write about it. I make drawings that kind of show how energies are manifest in some ways when I'm doing different yogic practices. But actually, the thing that first came to mind was I've just started making my own coconut milk in the mornings. So breaking the coconut and taking the flesh out and grinding it down and pushing it through a muslin cloth, and then drinking this like most delicious, like, you know, like nourishing milk, and that just makes me feel so grateful and content and happy. And I realize I'm still thinking about something I desire, so maybe this is not really actually ticking the box. But in terms of actually slowing me down and connecting to a practice of gratitude and with nature. I find it a really, I really value those moments in the morning. And yeah, I mean, solitude is something for me that's only something that I really felt like I've been able to practice in the past few months. For me, often I can more right not doing anything, but I listen to music a lot. So I've really been like coaxing myself to not have any music on. Like I'd even be like, yeah, but it's classical, music, it's fine, that's what I'm learning. But now I'm sitting in silence a lot more, which, like you said, Natraj Ji, was like frustrating at the start. But slowly, it's becoming peaceful.
Wonderful. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you very much for sharing those two meaningful experiences. Yeah. It's, so we've got the silence, which is good. Oh yes, hi.
Hello, everyone. It's very lovely to be back after a long time, and I haven't been to Sivananda Ashram, maybe 2 years. But I'm still doing practice itself, like the silent practice. My question is related how to measure spiritual progress. I mean, yeah, we can say like calmer mind, maybe, or feeling more peace. But I do feel that every day is coming with very usual situation that you think that you have overcome, but it's just repeating again. How maybe to, I don't know, to react to these worldly pleasures, which is everywhere around you. Like if you're living in Europe, especially, I think people are really, really addicted to the senses and to the mind. So even though you are practicing that, there is this situation that just really blow out your mind, even you have done let's say, longer practice. So yeah, my question is how to how to really first measure a spiritual practice and how to be part of yoga lifestyle when most things around you are not.
I'm gonna ask Padmavati to respond to you because she's actually living in Europe and she's used to that. So I think she would have a better insight into the whole situation.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, hi. Yes, well, no, I mean, just because I'm living in it doesn't mean I've got more control on it. Because I spend half my life in ashram and then half my life outside, I do have quite a good comparison. Um, my feeling is, as I mentioned in my talk, is not to really focus on am I getting better? Am I more spiritual? Am I this or that? Because you first of all, it's very difficult to make an overall judgment of one's mind, um, sort of from a distance. And secondly, and within that, one can deceive oneself. So you can sit there saying, well, actually, I'm much happier now, or I'm much more kind, but actually you've been really nasty to somebody 2 days ago and you didn't even recognize it. It was just, they were nasty to you and you were nasty back, and that's quite right. And we don't see it. We think that's how we should be acting. I think the point Swami Sivananda will say, the more happy you are, the more peaceful, the more contented you feel, and manifestations of that are that you can be alone without feeling agitated, that you are more giving, that you don't think of yourself a lot of the time, you think of others. These kind of things are indicators. But there's a danger that you start to look at, well, am I better than me, and then am I better than anybody else? And then spiritual pride can come in, which is a very tricky thing and considered by the masters to be the worst kind of pride. We can have pride of intellect, pride of beauty, pride of money, but spiritual pride, I am more spiritual than somebody else, can start to creep in. If you start looking at yourself, am I more spiritual? Really, the practices, and we're exhorted initially, which is, we start physically. Most of us started physically. Most of us started getting into yoga through the asanas. Then we start to look at the mind, because we've got to get a peaceful mind before we can go into the much deeper spiritual practices of yoga, Vedanta, and those kind of views of the world. And it's just do the practices and don't think about whether I am getting better. It's like doing yoga. If you do yoga, say for example you do yoga, you do the headstand. Am I better at the headstand? Am I getting better? Am I getting better? And then, then you're sick for 5 days, you don't do the headstand. Oh, I'm now back to where I was. Oh, I'm not getting better. Just do the practices. Forget about, am I going anywhere? You will go somewhere if you do the practices. No question. But don't focus on that. So that's my first answer to that one. And then secondly, how do you manage practicing yoga in a wild society that we have? It is very tricky, and one needs to keep contacting, like as you're doing here. You're coming into the presence of people who are following the same path. You read, you listen to YouTube stuff, you go to meditation sessions with, whether it's Buddhists or yogi, it doesn't matter, just anything that will get you contacting somebody or something that has a higher level of purpose in their lives. It can be very, very difficult, and we say just keep looking. The universe always gives us what we really, really want. So by absolutely focusing on that, I need this spiritual input, I need this yogic stuff, you will meet people, and you will, come across people and come across the environment that will give you that. If you don't get it initially, then it's a good practice to remain stable within oneself, and you use that as a practice, as I am going to remain. So this holiday I just went on, they were absolutely, completely anti anything that I ever said about anything. And I was like, oh my God, if I even say anything, there's just nothing I can say that I get pounced upon and torn apart. And so I used it as a great way of just stop being sanctimonious about my knowledge, stop having to give my knowledge out, just be quiet, and I used it as a practice. But always underneath, be finding a contact place that you will get this. So you being here is brilliant, and me being here is brilliant for me, and it is for all of us, because it reinforces what we truly believe in, and it's not even a belief, we know, and we have to be around it to feel good. So that's but my real thing, don't look at spiritual progress, just do the practices. That would be my advice. But it's not necessarily the right advice. Who knows? I think it is, though. Swami Sivananda would say that. Just do the practices, because we can't know. We can't know what the karmas are that are coming. We can't know where we've come from. Somebody who's come from a very low level, deep depression, suicidal, murderous, or this kind of thing, may, be at this level, but very high for them. It's a great step forward. So judgment, I think we have to take away judgment in ourselves and in other people. Stop judging. Very difficult practice. Very difficult. Okay.
Thank you. Good. I think our time is up. And
Yeah, everybody is hungry. They're waiting for the health English.
yeah, and our TTC group are waiting for us. They want to have their dinner. And we just finished TTC here, so we're having a final day feast and a graduation ceremony here in Madurai. And somebody's just arrived from Neyyar Dam, a long trip. It's Kalyani.
Chef. Yeah, welcome to Madurai.
All right, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us. It's great to have satsang like this. We should do it often. And thanks for supporting us. And great. We'll finish with a prayer. Sorry?
We absolutely do it more often, you know, for all of us.
Yeah. I mean, this online thing taught us something. COVID taught us something, and it's worth doing. Not all the time, but sometimes. So let's finish with a short prayer. Thanks.
But as I in the real world, it's very important. No matter it's important to have this kind of
Contact.
yeah, it's important. Even 10 minutes.
Okay. That'll be your mission, Padmavati. Make this happen.
All right then. That's the lesson of all Sivananda. You see something is needed and you have to do it.
Exactly.
I learned it. I still haven't learned.
Don't open your mouth too often.
Yeah, you learned that. I've just forgotten. Yeah, I'm out of it, so I forgot.
All right. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Respect our gurus, Bola Sadguru Shivananda Maharaj ki Jai, Vishnu Devananda Maharaj ki Jai. Om Tat Sat. And thank you to all the hosts and the background people who made work for us, Satya, Satya, and others.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Om.
Come on. I mean, bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye.
Huh?
I thought Nish was telling me something.
Okay, Padmavati.